Aloha and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be playing Max Payne. My favorite game of all time, probably. Its 20th anniversary was July 23rd, 2001. This is 2021, so it's the game's 20th anniversary, and I've been really wanting to do content on Max Payne for quite a while now, but I never thought that I could necessarily do it justice. First, I kind of wanted to do a review, but I knew I really had to go all out with that, and I'm not exactly ready. I don't necessarily think I have the skills yet to fully deliver a review that would do the game justice. But I'm doing a Let's Play now, and this is probably going to last maybe 7 days. I'm not exactly sure. I'm going to be splitting this up. So tell me if you like this. Hopefully you will. And yeah, I'm recording this audio technically in post. Doesn't exactly matter too much, but hopefully the audio is better than it would be if I was doing it live. Love this. I'm gonna let you hear this for a minute. Love this intro.
They were all dead. The final gunshot was an exclamation mark to everything that had led to this point. I released my finger from the trigger, and then it was over.
I don't know if I should be talking necessarily during these cutscenes.
Back to the night the pain started.
I kind of want to, but I kind of don't. And as you can see, the loading screen there is off. It's ajar a bit. That's because of the the state of the game. Really, the game is kind of duct taped together. It can't be just played right out of the box on most PCs nowadays. And I'm using Windows 10, so you have to use quite a few mods and things to try and fix the game. And through doing that, certain things such as the aspect ratio will change during loading screens, and you'll see a few kind of weird flickering objects throughout, off and on, but it's as good as it really gets. The game was designed by a small development team that really put the game together with duct tape, so to speak. They used some quite impressive tech for the time. The people that founded Remedy, as a matter of fact, worked on different computer software and APIs and things, as far as I'm aware. And once they founded Remedy, that was one of the big reasons why, despite the company not having a ton of game experience, and despite game experience in the sense of the Remedy hadn't released a lot of content before Max Payne, only one other game that I know of. Despite that, and the team being small, they had tech that was quite comparable, if not better in some ways, than their contemporaries, and that was really helped kind of put them on the map, and through Max Payne mostly. So
I was still on the force back then. NYPD, Manhattan, Midtown.
Because of all that, the game's quite impressive in certain ways, in its environmental detail, but in other regards, such as optimization, the game's just not optimized too well for PCs, especially nowadays. Even using all sorts of patches, it's pretty shaky. So,
still on for poker Thursday night, right?
Like taking candy from a baby.
And baby, yeah, that's foreshadowing.
Sun setting on a sweet summer's day. Smell of freshly mowed lawns, the sounds of children playing.
Love that shot there, that painting. That's the thing, all these shots in the game are actually real, or a lot of these are real photos with effects added over the top of them.
A nasty habit of going bad when you're not looking.
Painted and graphical effects added.
The sun went down with practiced bravado. Twilight crawled across the sky.
Love the way the writing in this game is. It's fantastic. Little glitch there with that excitement mark.
Michelle,
3 years ago, yeah, that's kind of
I didn't like the way the show started.
a certain, what would you say, something that some people get wrong when playing the game is if you don't necessarily pay attention to the timeline of everything. I've got to change a setting here. Excuse me for that. Sorry about that. But the game, that's a common misconception, is that the game takes place over, all takes place within 24 hours. No, the game takes place over the period of 3 days, and this scene specifically took place like 2 or 3 years ago. I forget what it just said. And the rest of the game takes place over the course of 3 days, and every time he blacks out from a drug overdose, that's where in the day, that's where the day happens. So despite it looking like he's at night throughout the whole game, if you pay attention, he's actually, the daytime is happening, or it's alluded to that the day has passed every time he blacks out. So yeah, and that as you saw by the outside the window there, it's quite interesting how there's nothing out there. You can't see the road or anything else like that. It's just, as you see past there as well, that it's just the colored gradient
Someone's
sky
broken
and
into
like
my house. Call
blackness.
911.
Is this the Payne residence?
Yes, someone's broken into my house. They're still here.
Gotta love these portraits.
I'm afraid I cannot help you.
Who is this? Hello.
And I just love all the detail there and the real world photos that they use to have on textures as well, which really kind of, well, I want to mention right here, the interactability is even there at the very beginning of the game. You can turn on the TV there, I could shoot the can off of there, soda goes everywhere, and if you pay attention to the soda, if I looked at it in better detail, you can actually see bullet holes in the can.
Michelle!
The newspaper back there also had real photos on it.
Michelle! Freeze! NYPD, drop it!
Oh no! Got him. Very sad intro. One of the saddest in gaming, in my personal opinion. It's interesting how they're all wearing the same clothes. It's like they got it from a bad guy convention. No, they're junkies. You'll kind of get the story in a minute there. But if you see also when the camera pans once again, I don't know if it'll show it again, but when I ran up to her corpse, one of the paintings, the Twin Towers right there, on that photo on the wall. Certain elements of the game had to be censored because, again, the game came out on the 23rd of July in 2001, but so it was pre 9/11. But the game on consoles came out post 9/11, so they had to remove certain things like that.
The killer junkies had been high on a previously unknown designer drug, Valkyr V.
I just love the night sky
I told
there.
Alex I'd be transferring to the DEA. It took us 3 long years to get a break in the
This
Valkyr
shot
case.
is fantastic.
Then, finally, 2 months ago, a dime dropper tipped us off
3
that
different
Jack
panels
Lupino,
there, all
a mob
combined.
boss
It's
in the
great.
Punchinello crime family, was trafficking. I went undercover, infiltrated the worst mafia family in New York.
And what's interesting about this loading screen here is that, as I kind of talked about earlier, most of these, not all, but a lot of the loading screens and the comic book panels are actually real-world photos. And it's so cool that these people, I'm guessing they were real. Not everything in these are real, but a lot of it is. So if these people were real, I'm guessing so, assuming so, they're immortalized in like the best game of all time. What I wouldn't have done to be one of those people. No, I mean, I kind of doubt that these people necessarily are gamers looking at them. Who knows if they ever knew that they were immortalized in this game. But and that's the thing, the reason behind the loading screens and most of the in-game cutscenes being comic book panels, not all of them are, but most of it being that, is because of budget restrictions that Remedy had. Again, it was a small team, a relatively new company at the time that had only been around for 5 years, 4 years, something like that, before this game came out, about 5 years. And it was basically, by Remedy was the one that was not producing it, like doing the distribution and paying for the game to be produced. And without them, the game, as far as I know, wouldn't have came to market. But it was also beyond them, the game shifted hands, and Rockstar actually, like, last minute helmed the kind of final release. So both companies really helped push this out.
I came in
but ultimately, Remedy was a small company.
The city was a cruel monster. I've been slowly working my way from the small time to the big fish, trying to get to the source of the drug. Alex and BB were my only contacts in the DEA, the only ones in this decrepit city who knew I was down here.
BB here.
And
Something urgent has come up with Jack Lupino. You need to meet with Alex.
And they didn't have a ton of experience with game design, just experience with programming in general, and
outside, the
but
mercury
not
was falling fast.
with
It was
actual
colder than the devil's heart, raining ice pitchforks as if the heavens were ready
game
to fall.
production.
Everyone was running for shelter like there was no tomorrow. It didn't get any better when I got to the subway.
And because of that and the financial limitations that
something was not right about this.
the distributors put on them made it where they couldn't
But
just
the Reds stared
blow
nervously
their
out of
money
my coat, but the
on
train doors had already shut behind me,
in-game.
and I was in for the ride. Next stop, Roscoe Street Station, and Alex.
There's a lot of dialogue in this game. I don't know what to talk over and what not to talk over. And also because of that, the restrictions in terms of financial restrictions that they were given, they just couldn't have every cutscene in the game. They either had to have a lot less
The station
cutscenes,
was drenched in
closer
gloom.
to
Alex
games
was
that
a
were
ghost,
coming out
nowhere to
around
be
the time
seen. I'd have to look for him.
that this was being developed, which was around 1997 was when the development started around then. So they could have either have had the game not be as much of a story heavy game, or they could have continued like they did now, but they could have done some other way. And what they did to work around their restrictions was to have it be comic book cutscenes. That door there, what's interesting, doesn't go anywhere, but it's a nice addition, I'd say, because it helps build the world out. So I wanted to show you guys that. Along with that, I was trying to show off that Acer Corporation wall hanging poster or whatever it is. Because it's actually it's foreshadowing a level and area later in the game. Also, that was censored in the console versions to make the buildings look less like the Twin Towers. Also, these two bathrooms, just keep spitting facts for you guys. These two bathrooms, you can interact with that, kind of a element. All this interaction kind of makes sense because 3D Realms, remember, helped helm the game's development early on, and this was being developed right when Duke Nukem 3D came out. So let's blast them. Those two bathrooms back there, though, yeah, aren't in the console versions to save on RAM and everything. The original console versions, the PS2 and Xbox version. Gonna blast them. And there's also another area in this level specifically that isn't in the console versions that I'll point out when we get to it. Two areas, one somewhat big area, not really, and one just like closet that is in the game. Along with that, the console versions also split up a lot of levels into like two parts and things because once again, RAM limitations and adding extra loading screens. The PS2 especially added quite a few loading screens, and the frame rate's really not nearly as good as the Xbox version. The graphical effects aren't and things. So definitely, if you're going to play it on consoles, play the Xbox version, but the PC version is ultimately the best if you can mod it and get it working. Don't want to get shot here, even though I'm on the easiest difficulty. The easiest difficulty is really like a normal difficulty. Normal is like hard, and hard is like extra hard. So I could still die in just a few hits if I'm not careful, but I also kind of like to flex and try not to get hit. Gonna blast him. One guy left over there, I thought, but no, I guess not. Yeah. And speaking of that door, that's the room that I was referring to that isn't in the console version. To save RAM once again. Save this dude. He's basically a walking, talking key.
You saved me, man.
What's going on here?
A massacre. These armed thugs just appeared from nowhere. We need to get help. I can make the call from the control room one floor up. Can you take me there?
Sure. Sounds good.
Yeah, sure. Max Payne 2 does this as well, where basically instead of having... the game does have keys, but Max Payne 1 and 2 have it where oftentimes to get into rooms you have to get someone to take you there and unlock the door, and then instantly when they unlock the door they die. So they're basically just walking, talking keys. There's no other purpose. That was their life purpose, to help Max stop the mob, right? And by help him, I mean unlock a door and die. It's their God-given, it's their fate. And here, what's interesting is you can actually kill a few guys that you'll actually have to deal with later anyways. So if you want to save some bullets later on, you can take these guys out before you get to this area, and then you only have to deal with a few guys as opposed to, a few guys plus these two. So you can't take them all out, only these two you can take out. But certain things like that, aren't needed, but it's cool game design. It's different things like the poster as well that you saw of the Acer Corporation isn't needed, but the fact that you see that throughout the game and then you eventually get to go to the Acer Corporation, the fact that you see a note later on in the next level here that's in reference to Acer Corporation all connects together and helps build out the world. And again, it's not needed, but it's cool that it exists
Home
because
free.
it's
This
just,
way.
you know,
What the hell?
making the world feel deeper, making the world feel more rich and lived in. Gotta hit that keypad again. And you'll see there's another real world photo there. Love Lady Liberty. This room I used to have more trouble on my first few playthroughs. A rough estimate of how much I've played this game is probably, what, 20 times? It's crazy. I love playing it. I used to try and limit myself, where I would only play it 2 or 3 times a year, but now I pretty much play it every few months, you know, maybe 4 or 5 times a year. And this door here, what's interesting, you can't go through once again, but it's nice that it's there. It adds some symmetry to the room. We're gonna go back over there. If you didn't know where to go the first time, you'd actually look through a security camera and see that the subway lit up like a Christmas tree,
The train
which
lit
you'll
up
say
like
here.
a Christmas tree. The power was back on.
And the final room that in this level that isn't in the console versions is that room. This closet here doesn't have much in it at all. It's super small. You would think they could have included, they probably could have, but once again they didn't want to, I guess, stress the system. And once again, the PS2 version, I mean, can't even, you know, the Xbox version, the levels are mostly close to the same size as the PC version as far as I'm aware, but the PS2 version couldn't even handle the slightly smaller levels. Again, they had to split them up into multiple parts. Some levels like 3 different parts. So, you know, yeah, you gotta be happy with what you get, I suppose, on the consoles. So much for being subtle. That sounds nothing like Max Payne. That sounds nothing like Max Payne, but, you know, just gonna blast. I'm not even gonna let them, like, get out of their little corner there. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm gonna cut this off. I could have this go on for, you know, hours, but I feel like I should split them up into, you know, small parts, you know, like 20 minutes max for each part. How long do you want each part to be? How much do you want to see in each part? Should I talk more? Should I talk less? Should I talk during the cutscenes? Should I continue not talking mostly during the cutscenes? Tell me down below what you think of this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Aloha.